So, probably the retrieve that you've been taught or you're the most familiar with is a static swim. That static swim will work many times. But if you've been using it and this changes honestly throughout the day. This isn't just an all-day thing. So you might have to switch up your retrieve several times. But for instance, if you're trying to just get your feet wet with this, let's just do a static retrieve. So you're going to make a cast. Close the bail. Make sure the bait gets down to the bottom. Remember, you're using this mostly in 1 to 4 feet. And then just retrieve the lure at a static speed, at an angle, at a rod angle where you can tell if something hits it. You don't want to point right at it. You want a little angle on it so that when that tip gets hit, there'll be some type of load on the rod. So it's easier to get that hook point into them. So it's just a static swim. And every once in a while you might want to slow it down just enough so you touch bottom again and then reel. That way you know you're making bottom contact. A lot of the fish that you're targeting are going to be tight to the bottom in the brighter hours of the day. So you don't want to keep just reeling, because unconsciously you'll reel fast enough where you'll bring that bait up too high in the water column. So if you're fishing 3 feet of water and your redfish is down in the grass or your trout are down in the grass and that thing is just like 3 or 4 inches under the surface, they're not always going to race up there and hit it, especially redfish. They want it tighter to the bottom. Make it easier for them. That's why every once in a while, slow down so it feels like you're almost going to get caught up, and then just speed it back up again and keep it over the grass. And that makes sure for the whole retrieve that you're staying in the zone near the bottom, and it just isn't on the bottom when you first start and then it does this steady climb. And that's a lot of the reason why I use this 30-degree line tie on these redfish eyes, because it does a good job of that. Another good jig for that is Matt Allen's dirty jigs. They do an amazing job. A lot of those have 30-degree line ties. So here we go. So make sure, cast it out there, give it a second or two to hit the bottom, and then just reel it slow or at a moderate pace, just like this. And you can do that with 2500 series spinning reels and 3000. And then if I feel it grab like that, I know I'm close to the bottom. If I feel like I'm reeling too fast because I'm talking to somebody like you guys, I'll slow myself down, let it fall back to the bottom a little bit, and then I'll pick it back up and start reeling again. Open jig heads is what I like to use most of the time, unless I'm fishing, heavier cover where I know I'm going to get fouled with a lot of suspending debris. But this works the best. Now I want to show you another retrieve, so watch this. And what I like to do in this one, still keep that upward angle if I'm trying to keep that hook up. But every once in a while, bring it down at a down angle or switch directions and move your rod tip over to the other side. Move it back. What that does is that bait swims like this now, okay? It'll swim this way for a while, and then it'll cut back the other direction. It'll swim this way, then I'll cut it back this way. Then it'll swim this way. And by doing that, and it swimming and swimming, it looks more realistic. And that change of direction often will get a fish to just hammer that bait. If you always throw the same thing and you have had no success, none, and you've been fishing this bait for an hour, it's not the color, could be the size, but it's mostly the speed or the angle that you're reeling it at. Change it up. Remember, this whole thing started with trees, with experiment. Retrieval experimentation is what's going to get this done. Here's another one I think that you'll like that will give you a better chance of hooking up, because you can visualize it a little bit more. I'll throw it out there. Again, a lot of you like to work the rod tip down if you're not in a kayak, but if I'm in a boat, I'll work that rod tip down, and I'll be rolling it steady speed, twitch, 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 just to give it that flash, flash, flash. Then I'll reel it a little bit, twitch, twitch, 2 twitches. Reel it a little bit, change directions, twitch, twitch. That constant, I don't know what's going on, kind of swim really fools fish. If you're ever fishing with somebody in your boat and all they do is throw it out and reel it back and throw it out and reel it back and throw it out and reel it back, I'm going to tell you, about every 5th trip, that's the only retrieve that will get eaten. But those other 4 trips, if you're experimenting with your retrieve and that other guy isn't, you're going to catch more fish, I promise you. I do it all the time on my boat when I'm fishing with family, friends. I got Bernie Schultz coming to fish with me next week, and I learn from those bass pros because that's the way that they fish. I fish this bait so weird sometimes that I'm the only one catching a fish, every hour I'm catching a fish. Where the other guys, they're struggling. Here's another one that I'll sometimes use, and I use this more with crustaceans, but if I've got a little bit deeper water, I'm really trying to accomplish something. There's a lot of fish that will make this swim where I'll give it time to get to the bottom, and then I'll reel it, and then I'll let it fall. I'm not hopping it, I'm just reeling, and then it'll kind of have a gradual. See, if you hop it, it has this sharp upward angle and fall straight down. That's not natural. But if you reel it like this, and then let it fall, it reels like this, and it makes an arc when it falls. And it just looks like a kind of a fish that's going and checking stuff out. I'll reel it like this, let it fall. Then I'll change directions. I'll reel like this, let it fall. Reel like this, let it fall. Especially if I'm on a little bit deeper zone, like a grade, like a gradual edge where it goes from 2 foot and it falls off into a channel or off a bar into like 4 or 5 feet of water. It works great along that edge, doing that type of retrieve. It really does work really good. Now you can't do that everywhere because it'll get fouled. But if you can find a zone to do that, it works great, and just let it fall. Those are just a couple of retrieves that really will change your game.